Okay, well, it looks like we're recording. So welcome everyone. Thank you so much for coming to this presentation. Um, so my name is Chris Morrison. I am currently an intern at Marywood University. I work closely with the Career Development Center and Retention and Advising Office. I'm a student at Marywood as well, trying to finish my graduate degree in clinical mental health counseling. So some of these internship hours I'm using to complete to be able to pursue and finish that. So for our presentation today, we're talking a little bit about anxiety in college and getting those jitters out. So that nervousness some of us might have if you're just starting college or incoming into college, whether that be Marywood, if that's the school you're coming into. Or I do know, I think there's some people that could potentially be attending that might be going to a different school. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. So my goal and just kind of overall hope today for you is that you get something out of the presentation that you can take with you. My goal is to make this as practical and simple as possible. I'm a pretty laid back, casual presenter, so hopefully you'll get something, and something, again, you can just take away to kind of help you deal with any type of anxiety, nervousness, or those jitters. And we'll talk a little bit more about that kind of as we get to the next slide here. All right, so a pretty big, bold statement here. It's normal to feel nervous about starting college. So I really just wanted to start with that, because if you are feeling any type of nervousness or anxiety already, if you're going into college, it's pretty normal. Most people will have some type of nervousness, some type of anxiety starting something like college. So just know that you're not alone. There's probably other people that feel pretty similar to you and are going through similar things. So hopefully knowing that makes you feel a little bit better kind of as we start here and kind of go into this presentation. So the next few slides, we're going to be talking a lot about anxiety and those different things. So hopefully it's not too overwhelming talking about those things, but let's kind of dive in here. So anxiety and stress. So I really want you to think about what I have there on the left. So it says, if you were to say, I am feeling anxious, well, what would that look like? Obviously that might look different for anybody, and depending on the type of person you are. So, but if you were to say, I am feeling anxious, what would that look like for you? So I put some things on the side there for you to kind of think about. So what type of physical sensations maybe would be happening for you or happen for you? So do you sweat a lot? Maybe you wring your hands, bounce your knee, you have a pounding heart, racing heart, those kinds of things. What are some of those things? What do they look like for you? Thinking. So what is your thinking like when you say, I'm feeling very anxious? Are you the type of person that really overthinks and thinks a lot about things? There's a lot going through your mind. You're thinking about things in the future, worrying about things that happened in the past. Where do your thoughts go? What does that look like for you? Feeling. So obviously, if you're feeling anxious, there's feelings of anxiety, right? But maybe there's other types of feelings. Maybe there's some confusion there, there's doubts, there's other worry. So when you're feeling anxious, what other types of feelings are you also experiencing with that? And finally, their behavior. So what does feeling anxious look like behavior-wise for you? So are you the type of person that runs around very quickly when you're feeling anxious to get everything done? Do maybe some of your sleep patterns change? You sleep less or you sleep more? Do your eating patterns change? I know some people eat a lot when they're stressed. I feel like I'm one of those people. So are you one of those people? So thinking about all those things, hopefully that can kind of help you conceptualize or put everything together about what does it really mean when you say I am feeling anxious. The good thing to really think about with that and why that's important is because it's really good to know yourself and to know when you're feeling anxious and stressed before it actually happens. So keeping kind of those things in mind can really help you set you up to get what you need before those kinds of things happen, or even when those things are happening. All right, so Into the Unknown. I like that title because it reminds me of a song from, I think from Frozen 2. I believe there's a song called Into the Unknown. So college is kind of like into the unknown, right? You're not really sure what's going to happen. It's new. It's kind of a novel experience maybe for you. Can be surrounded by expectations. I mean, I remember when I started my undergraduate college experience, there's so many different people telling me that, oh, it's going to be really easy, you're going to be fine, you're going to figure it out. But then on the other hand, there's so many different people telling me that, oh, it's very challenging, it's going to be hard. It's not like high school, you're going to have to work harder. So I just had all these conflicting expectations, and I didn't really know what to expect. But ultimately, it's really a transition, it's an adjustment, right? It's something new again. And any type of transition or adjustment, it can be stressful, it can be difficult. So college is one of those things. So again, if you're feeling nervous about that, that's okay. Again, it's fairly normal. So yeah, all those different expectations, and again, that transition kind of contributes to those kinds of things. So we labeled this presentation as getting the jitters out. So I think it would be important to kind of define, kind of look at, well, what are the jitters? So jitters are just basically feelings of nervousness. So nervousness, extreme nervousness, any other type of anxiety. All kind of things that we've been talking about and we'll continue to talk about. But I think it's good just to kind of look at that a little bit more in depth. So any types of feelings of nervousness. And those types of feelings of nervousness may be stemming from thoughts or things that we're telling ourselves, like the hows, the can'ts, the don'ts, and the what ifs. So for example, like a how question you may be asking yourself right now, you're just getting into college, like, well, how am I going to be able to handle all the workload? Or another thing you may be telling yourself is, well, I can't really get a grasp on what college is going to be like. Or maybe on the other end, you're telling yourself, well, what if I don't get a good grade in one of my classes? What if I fail? So there's a lot of these thoughts that could potentially be pretty negative, but they are happening, and that's okay. But I am hoping that you realize how important it is just to be aware of those things, to be aware of your thinking, kind of understand that. And I also just want to put a little blurb in here. Some of those things you're thinking about and dealing with are just too much to maybe reach out and kind of ask for help. I know that at Marywood, we have a lot of great offices and other support teams, as well as a great counseling center that can help you navigate some of those things if you feel like you need that extra support. But if those are too daunting and too difficult for you to handle on your own, definitely reach out and get some of that support. We'll be looking a little bit more about that in these next coming slides about how to do some of those things and what that looks like. But yeah, so those jitters, feelings of nervousness, and those thoughts and questions we're asking ourselves surrounding all those different things. So what do we do to deal with these jitters? So I want to start off with, well, what to avoid. So what shouldn't you do, what not to do, right? So the first one there, I put too much caffeine like coffee. So I remember when I started my undergrad, right out of high school, I wasn't much of a coffee drinker. I didn't drink coffee in college. In high school. And I remember calling my father saying that, oh, when you get to college, you're going to become a coffee drinker. You're going to need to drink coffee to stay awake. You're going to be so busy. Things are going to be different. I didn't believe him. But I did become a coffee drinker. I actually love coffee. So even if you're not a coffee drinker now, things may change, but it's just important to know that try not to use coffee, other types of caffeine, sodas, things like that, as a substitute for getting sleep. Sleep is really, really important. especially with a schedule that may be changing all the time. Your sleep schedule may change. So coffee's okay. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but okay in moderation. So don't use too much caffeine. So there's a lot of other negative physical symptoms that can come from drinking too much of that. So just be careful with those things. What else to avoid? So developing any type of unhealthy habits. So I feel like in kind of our society and culture right now, an unhealthy habit that's easy to fall into a trap of is like binge watching Netflix or binge watching other shows. So that's something you potentially don't want to develop too much, because that may take time away from focus on school, focus on your schoolwork. Obviously, you want to manage that in moderation of what works best for you, because it may be different from you than from somebody else, depending on how much schoolwork you have, free time you have. But that's a good example. Another type of unhealthy habit that could potentially happen is if staying up too late, trying to get the schoolwork finished later, longer times into the evening. It's particularly important to avoid that if you have like an early morning class you have to be in, or something else that happens early in the morning, like you have work or something like that. So try to just keep that good sleep schedule, try to stay on top of those things, stay away from developing unhealthy habits the best that you can. Saying yes to everything is another thing to avoid. When I read that, it makes me think of that movie with, I think, Jim Carrey called The Yes Man, where he couldn't say no to anything, he had to say yes to everything. So whether or not you think so, that could lead to feelings of, well, now you have so much going on, so many things happening, you're spreading yourself so thin, you're in so many different directions because you say yes to every opportunity presented your way, to everyone that reaches out to you for help. Definitely in college, you're going to be presented with a lot of new opportunities, new things to be a part of, new things to join in with. And those things are great things, and it's good to get involved. However, don't fall into the trap of trying to get involved in everything, because you may get a little overwhelmed. I know when I started my undergraduate, that was definitely my go-to, trying to be a part of every club, every different thing. Eventually, I realized I couldn't do it. I was stretched too thin. Excuse me. I wasn't committed to one certain thing or anything like that. So try not to be that person that says yes to everything that's presented your way. That'll help with that anxiety and that stress. And finally there, but focusing on the end result, overthinking. So I think there's some truth, and it can be helpful if you focus on the end result, just thinking, well, I just have to get through this, and then I'll be done with the semester. Or I just have to get through this, and then it'll be the weekend. I think that can be helpful. However, I think that sometimes if you're only focusing on the end result, you may overthink a little bit too much, meaning that you're thinking about your week, thinking about the end result, but then also thinking about, well, I have this project I have to do. I have this thing I need to attend. I have this appointment to go to. Think about all those things for long. You're overthinking so much that you're just going to feel a sense of overwhelming burden, I could imagine. But trying not to focus too much on the end result, taking it day by day, and taking some time in between there too, but also just celebrate any type of small victories that you have. So say you complete a project, complete an assignment, just taking some time to celebrate that, maybe even for a few minutes, just doing something that you enjoy. Taking that time can be really helpful because it can make you feel like, you know, you put in the work, alleviate some anxiety, be like, all right, like that's done. So day at a time, step at a time. It makes me think about something an old boss told me, and she would always tell me, you know, what doesn't get done today will get done tomorrow. So kind of developing that mindset will be helpful to deal with any type of those jitters or that anxiety, kind of getting through those things. All right, so we talked about what to avoid, so we have to talk about, well, what to do. And we talked about this a little bit. So we talked about just being present. So again, that idea of doing things one day at a time. And by present, I mean just kind of focusing on the task in front of you, whatever project assignment you're kind of working on that's in front of you. So not trying to think about all the other things that you have to do. That can really bog you down. So being present in the moment, taking it one day at a time. And again, just celebrating those small victories too in the moment as well. When you get things done, it make you feel good. So what to do? Be positive. So I feel like that's easier said than done. You know, people are always like, yo, look on the bright side of life, or just try to be positive. But I think there could be some truth in actually trying to be positive. It might take a little bit more effort, a little bit more work, a little bit more time to kind of be able to do that. But being positive can make things more positive for you. Taking the time to put in extra work to, well, think about the positive in certain situations. Say something happened where you forgot an assignment, or you forgot to do something like that happened, you missed the deadline. I'm just trying to be positive. Well, I missed the deadline, but tomorrow I have a lot of time. So like I'm gonna be able to get it done then. And then it'll be finished. So I'll have it done. So at least it'll be finished and I can turn it in and get some type of grade. Trying to focus on those positives, trying to change your thinking a little bit can kind of set you up for success in a more healthier way there. Well, ask questions and take initiative. So there's a potential that you're going to get into college if you're just coming in, dealing with anxiety throughout college, that you're probably going to make mistakes. And hopefully that isn't a surprise to hear, but making mistakes is okay. It's human. It's a part of the process. And you can ask anybody that went into their undergraduate experience and just started college. I'm sure they've made mistakes as well. I made a ton of mistakes going into college. I didn't really know what I was doing half the time. I was just trying to figure out, well, what does it mean to be independent? How does it make this work? So asking questions and reaching out to offices or other people, part of Marywood or whatever school you're at, can be really helpful. And most people do understand some of the things that you're kind of going through and any type of anxiety or nervousness you're experiencing, because they might have went through it too, or they have the experience working with people that have had a lot of anxiety or nervousness. So keep that in mind when you're asking for help or reaching out to get answers to questions, is that people have felt similarly and kind of dealt with those things as well, even if they went to college in the past. Because it can be hard. It can be hard going to college, trying to figure out what you want to do, making sure you're learning all these new things. A lot's going on there, so it's definitely a change. But really just make sure you take initiative to do that. So it's kind of your responsibility now to reach out if you need help, ask those questions, and do those kinds of things. Because the idea is you're going to be a little bit more independent. People want you to be more independent. Family wants you to be more independent. Hopefully yourself wants to be more independent. And that could be a little scary. And it may take a little bit of time to figure that out. But it does require a little bit of extra work on your end to be able to do that. And ultimately, it's really better to ask questions than not. Because if you get more concrete, clear answers from somebody, it helps with you just assuming what you need to do. Again, that concrete answer about, okay, this is what I need to do versus, well, do I need to do this? What does this mean? It clears up that uncertainty. So asking those questions can really help with that, because a lot of that uncertainty and those assumptions can lead to that anxiety or those jitters we're kind of talking about. All right. So here's just another question slide for you. So just for something for you to think about. So what do you do to relax or deal with stress? So think about some of the things that you do currently to deal with stress, to help you relax, things that help you kind of wind down. Or even think about things that you've done in the past, things that you've done in the past that have really been effective and worked well for you to help you deal with stress and kind of wind down. Because if there's things in the past that worked, obviously you want to continue those into the future. Because if they worked, they worked. Reminds me of something my mechanic used to always tell me, that if it's not broken, don't fix it. So if you have something that works, stick with it. Just use it. No need to change it or fix it. Here's a list of examples of some things maybe that you already do to kind of help you wind down and relax. So any type of hobbies. I'm a music guy. My undergraduate major was music therapy. So I play a lot of music. I play a couple different instruments. That's something that helps me relax. That's something one of my always go-tos. Maybe for you, have a different hobby. Maybe it's arts, something along those lines. Exercise. Do some type of exercise already. That works for you. Maybe you like to call or talk to people. If you like talking on the phone, it's not something as popular as it used to be, but maybe you chat with people over other social media, do something like that. Maybe you like to read. Reading is your thing that helps you wind down and relax. I know some people like to read because it takes them out of this world and puts them into like the world of the book, which I think is pretty cool. Or you could do something like go outside if you already do that. Maybe you enjoy nature, going on hikes, being active kind of outside in nature, something you already do. But just think a little bit about that now. It's good to kind of start planning ahead now and think about, well, what works for me now? What can I do to handle my jitters that I'm having now or may have in the future? So I know when it does happen, like, oh, okay, why don't I just take some time? Maybe I need to go for a walk. Maybe I should just read a little bit. That's what's worked for me in the past, so I'm going to use it now. So thinking about those things now can help you kind of plan for the future. So here are some other ways that you can use to potentially cope with any type of other anxiety. And when I say cope, what I mean by cope is things that you can do to help you decrease your stress, things that help you make you feel better. So positive things. We're talking about positive coping strategies. So that's what I kind of mean by cope or coping. So here are some examples. Maybe you already do these, or maybe it's something that you can kind of add to your routine or start implementing. So I think the first one is super important, which is take a break or go outside. I think it's really important for kind of the environment that we're in now, where a lot of us are inside more often. It's important maybe just to take a break. You've been sitting all day, stand up, maybe go outside for a short walk. That can just kind of clear your mind a little bit. Take your mind off of maybe staring in front of the screen the whole time, rest your eyes. Obviously eating healthy, making sure that you're eating healthy, well-balanced meals is something that we can all be doing to kind of help with anxiety. It's good for our bodies, keeping those things in check. So get sleep. I put that in all caps and put that kind of in all caps on purpose because I feel like it's easy to lose track of our sleep schedule, and our time and that routine when we're in college, doing college classes, or even trying to balance work and college and personal life and all those things. But getting sleep is essential. It's super, super important for our bodies and for our minds to kind of rest our minds. So make sure you get sleep. Sleep is very, very important. Exercise is something you could also implement maybe into your routine, or something you can add to deal with anxiety or jitters. So exercise could mean really anything from walking, just going for a walk, stretching, doing some type of yoga, to maybe going for a run, doing something more physical exercise if that's your kind of thing. So there's kind of a ton of different things you can do there, and really it's whatever works best for you, kind of figuring out what that is. Understand that you may fall, but get back up. So what I mean by that is you're probably going to make mistakes, and that's okay. That's going to happen, but don't stop there. So it's really about, well, how are you going to react to that, right? How are you going to react to making a mistake, messing up, things are going to happen. But you're going to want to just get back up. It's going to take a little effort, but just get back up and keep moving forward. So accepting that mistakes are going to happen, but get yourself back up, just keep moving forward. Keep focusing on what you need to get done, and doing those kinds of things in order to set you up for success. Schedule and plan. So we're going to be looking at that one a little bit more on these next slides. But I think out of all of these, and one takeaway I'm hoping you're going to take from this presentation is schedule and plan, as well as the next one, develop a routine. I think scheduling and planning is going to be a huge thing that's really going to help deal with your anxiety. So schedule and planning mean making sure you have a weekly plan, you know what you're doing each day, you know where you're supposed to be, that kind of thing. Really important, because it can really decrease that anxiety. Because I can't imagine, I know for me, if I wake up and I don't know what I'm doing that day, my anxiety is through the roof. Like, I'm figuring out what I need to do. I'm afraid I already missed something. So knowing what I need to do beforehand, even before I go to sleep, puts me at ease, because I know, like, this is what I'm doing tomorrow. And then developing a routine. So your routine's going to change a little bit, because obviously you're doing something different, just coming into college. Maybe you also have a job or getting a job. Maybe your personal life is changing, so things are kind of changing a little bit for you here as you're kind of transitioning into college. So your routine's probably going to be a little bit different than what it has been in the past. So you're going to have to develop a new one. So a new morning routine, what that's going to look like for you. It's going to be different for everybody. But developing that routine will help you set yourself up for what to expect. So you'll know what your expectations are as far as where you need to be, what you need to be doing, and that can help you feel a lot more comfortable if you know, again, what those expectations are. You know where to be, what's going on. So you don't have to try to scramble and try to figure out kind of last minute, where am I supposed to be? When was that due? What does that look like? Right. All right, so like I said, we're going to dive a little bit further into developing a routine. So I put three little boxes here, three little blurbs. So in order to help you develop a routine, the first thing you can kind of do is just make a schedule with daily and your weekly plans. So that means just make a schedule, and I know there's a lot of ways you can do that. Whether that be on a phone and a schedule, a planner, some other type of app, a lot of things you can take advantage there. But have some type of schedule, some type of plan that plans out, well, I'm going to get this assignment done maybe at this time, or looking at it visually, if you're a visual person, like, oh, I have a little window here to be able to complete some of my schoolwork, so that's the time I should probably do it. And I think a schedule with daily and weekly plans can also be helpful, especially if you're trying to balance a lot of different roles at once, work, school, personal life. If you're trying to balance all those different things, just having a schedule of everything that you're doing each day can be really helpful, so you know where you need to be at certain times. So use a planner, calendar, or scheduler. So kind of like I mentioned, there's a lot of different ways to do this. I like to handwrite everything in a planner, so I think I just got this planner online. So I like to handwrite everything. Handwriting helps me remember what I need to do, so I handwrite it, and that way I can easily make any corrections I need to. I know some people like to use apps or other technology, like Google Calendar, stuff like that. So really whatever works for you. I know if you do use something like Google Calendar on your phone or something like that, typically your phone is something you always have with you. So, which is definitely beneficial, because like I said, I'm the type of person that uses planners, and I can't count the number of times that I've lost my planner, which is rather unfortunate, especially if you put everything you need to do into the planner. So if you're the type of person that might be, well, I'm afraid I'm going to lose it, well, hopefully you lose your phone less. So maybe using your phone might be a good strategy to kind of implement. But then there's other things you can do as well. Like if you're the type of person that maybe likes calendars, you can hang up on the wall, somewhere that you can always see it. So if you have like a workspace and it's right there on the wall, you can see it each morning, something like that. So again, whatever works best for you would be key. So it might require some type of experimentation on your part, trying out different things, what you find to be easier, what's going to work. I know when I was in high school, when I got done high school, I never did any type of planning or scheduling or using a calendar. I was just kind of relying on my mind and my memory to remember everything. But I know when I transitioned to college, everything was a little bit more scattered. Like I had a class over here, I was doing this day, I had some type of meeting over here to be a part of. But everything was kind of all over the place. Like I needed some space to write everything down because I just couldn't remember where everything was happening. So definitely using a planner or schedule can definitely help with memory. That's something you need to use. And lastly and importantly, time management is going to be key. Whether you've heard it already or not, if you're trying to, again, balance all those different things, work life, school life, personal life, trying to set some time aside for that schoolwork is really important, but also make sure you're set a time for relaxation, making sure you set time to eat. Eating is really important. I kind of find it can be easy to forget to eat if you're bogged down in work or stuck behind a computer or stuck being a part of some class and doing those things. Time just kind of escapes you. And before long, you're like, oh my gosh, I have not eaten today. I forgot to eat. So very, very important. And then just making sure you schedule time for sleeping too. This reminds me of a guy I went to school with. He was the type of person that liked to schedule everything. He scheduled everything in his planner, when he was going to eat, when he was going to sleep, when he had class, when he was going to do his work. Like his planner was color-coded, had everything written down, and was doing all the things he knew where it needed to be. So I don't think you really need to be that kind of person, but that's what worked best for him. You know, that's what he liked to do. So maybe if that's something that works best for you, maybe it's something you want to try. Different things, different tools and strategies you can kind of implement here to make developing a routine easier, making things a reality for you so you know each week what you need to be doing so that you're not just worrying about the future and worrying about, like, well, what's I supposed to do that day? What's supposed to happen? Just write it down, put it in a phone, put it on a calendar. It might make things a lot more easier for you in the long run. Okay, so another key tip here to kind of help with those feelings of anxiety is setting up a positive work environment. So what I mean by that is any type of space, area, table, desk, location, anything that you can set up that kind of is your space in like some way. So somewhere that you can know that you can go to get work finished, to get things completed, that you can kind of have like your own space and that own time would be really important. And I feel like that would be really important so that you're not thinking each day like, oh, I have this work I need to get completed, but I can't go there, or I can't do this, I can't be a mess. Just having a place where you know you can go so that you're not worried, like, well, I need like a quiet space for this. I need to study for like 2 hours. I need somewhere quiet. You know, where's that going to be? And it's like the day of where you only have 2 hours to be able to do that. So thinking about those things beforehand, kind of planning again, getting things settled, things scheduled out, requires a little bit of extra work, but it can be really helpful in dealing with that anxiety. Some other tips here as far as setting up that positive workspace. So I think it could be helpful if you have some types of pictures or object reminders, whatever kind of space you are, wherever you are while participating in college and going to classes. It kind of reminds you of home, family and friends. Maybe you have like small trinkets or something that has some type of meaning attached to them. Anything along those lines would just help make the space a little bit more positive, comfortable, warm and welcoming. Obviously, if you go somewhere out in the community maybe and are looking for a desk or something there somewhere else for me to sit, you might not have those kinds of things. And that's okay. But if you do have a space that you go to that's maybe within your home or somewhere else, having those kinds of things can bring a lot of positive vibes. You see pictures of home, family, friends, stuff like that. Things that maybe can not necessarily distract you, but take you away from your work for just even a couple seconds, just to give you a nice memory, just to make you feel positive so you can get back to work and you can focus on what you're doing. Another thing with the environment is just making sure it's functional and organized. So functional meaning that it's a space where you can get your work completed. So there's not a whole bunch of other things around, there's not all these papers and stuff everywhere. You have your space, your zone where you can get done what you need to get done. It's really important. And that kind of goes along with making sure it's organized as well. So I know some people, in terms of organization, are not the type of people that like everything clear-cut and neat. I heard some people say they prefer their organization is always, they're a little bit like more messy, but they know where everything is. So really, again, just finding what works best for you, something that's functional, also organized in some way, so you know where everything is. If you need something, you can get it, you can do that kind of thing. And finally, anything that's free from distraction. So I am the kind of person, because I was a music therapy major in undergrad, I don't like to have any type of music around me or listening to music. I find music very distracting because I'm always listening to it and then thinking about the music and like thinking about the way the music sounds because of that music background. I think that's kind of what I've given it up to. But so maybe there's something like that for you where you just need to be free from that kind of distraction. Maybe if you're doing some work at home, you're free from any type of distractions like TVs on, other things like that, that kind of distract you from work. So something that can really help you focus, space that can help you focus. But I also think it's important to kind of touch on here as well, is if kind of going back to this schedule idea and having a planner, that if you have some type of schedule and a planner and things already set up, it can help some of the people that you're living with in like your living situations know when you're busy, know when you're either in class or you have something going on where you need to be free from that distraction. So it can help you set up a space where you're not going to be as interrupted by people if they need you for something or want to ask you a question. If you communicate to them well enough and be like, hey, just so you know, like I'm going to be studying for 2 hours in the back or something like that. So I'm going to be pretty busy. But just letting them know that can really help make sure that maybe they're not blasting music too, or they're not like rustling around doing things. Maybe it can help them understand like, oh, like they're studying right now, maybe it should be a little bit more quieter. So just communicating those things can be really helpful. That way you're not dealing with that anxiety of like, oh my gosh, I have all this work I need to finish and they're so loud, they're blasting music, now I have to go deal with that. But just trying to set up things beforehand that kind of set you up for success. Okay, so I really want to stress the importance of kind of connecting. Connecting meaning connecting to the resources that whether it be Marywood or another school has for you. I know at Marywood University they have a lot of great resources, offices, and really helpful people that can really help you with pretty much anything you need as far as making sure you're successful in college. But most schools, I think, have some of these other services and things as well. And these are just some examples. I could have made the list a lot more longer. There's other things that Marywood has and provides, as well as other schools that you can also be a part of or reach out to get any type of support that you need. But just some things on here. So like the Tutoring and Writing Center. So if you're the type of person that now that you're thinking like, I'm not the best at writing, maybe I'm gonna need a little support with that. Or if there's a certain class that maybe you have to take as a requirement, then you're like, like I have to take this as a requirement. I'm not really sure how I'm going to do. I'm not sure how motivated I am going to know this information and things like that. You can always reach out to the Tutoring Center or the Writing Center. Marywood has a great Tutoring and Writing Center that can help with those things. And most of the time, at least in Marywood's Tutoring Center, the people that are tutors are students that recently completed the coursework of a class that you're currently struggling in. So that's really helpful because the information there is really fresh in their minds and they can really help you with what you need to do to kind of be successful in that class. Some other things here, so career services. So if you need any help with career related things, reach out to them. Student activities, clubs and activities. If you're the type of person that feels like you want to get connected with people and be a little bit more sociable, if you're that kind of person, maybe getting connected in that way. I know some of those things might be virtual as far as the environment we're living in now, but reaching out to those things, be a part of something might help with that desire or your want to kind of connect with others. And then any type of like mental health services that the campus may provide. I know Marywood has a really wonderful counseling and student development center that always has a lot of great resources and groups and things you can be a part of if you're needing that kind of thing or that extra support. So reaching out to some of these things can be really helpful to get that additional support to deal with that anxiety. Because I know from my personal standpoint and from other people that do work at Marywood, again, probably other schools as well, at any point they don't, they want to make sure that you're supported if you ever feel alone or feel like you need that extra support. And they are there, we are there for you to kind of access all these resources and help you with those things. So please feel free, feel comfortable to be able to access kind of some of these resources and reach out to those kinds of things. All right, so just a final thought. We talked a little bit about this, but just a final thought on balance. So as you're kind of transitioning into college here and dealing with nervousness and anxiety, you're going to be balancing a lot of demands of your personal life, your school life, and I know some people are, and it seems to be a little bit more popular, also working as well as going to school. So there's going to be a lot of demands of balancing those three different things. So kind of all those tips and strategies that we already talked about are really going to be helpful in these cases. Making a plan, scheduling things out, reaching out for support if you need them. But most importantly, yeah, developing that routine. And again, using that plan, using a planner, a phone or app or anything that you like to use will help you really be able to tackle all these things at certain points. Because it really is going to be a balance, because you're going to be might be pretty involved, pretty busy with school. However, it's important to take care of that personal life as well, because you have your family, your friends. It's good to pay attention to those things. But again, if you work as well, you have to deal with that with work responsibilities and things. So there's a lot of stuff there. So just finding that balance can be key. And it may take a little bit of time, and that's okay, to figure out, well, what does that mean? What does that look like for me? How am I going to make this all work? But I'm hoping for you it'll get there and things will kind of come together. So here's just a little bit about thinking now about what might benefit you as far as getting connected with any types of offices or supports on campus. So just some little blurbs here. Thinking about, well, are you the type of person that likes to be social with others? So if you kind of already know that now, you like to be social, like to talk to other people, maybe you want to get connected to clubs and activities in some way. That way that piece is not kind of missing from your life as you transition here into college, trying to deal with all the anxiety, those new things. Keeping those kind of things going to help you kind of cope with that anxiety and that stress. But maybe you're the type of person that needs some support with writing, and you know, like, I'm not really the best writer. Maybe you want to get connected with the writing and tutoring center. Maybe you're the type of person that wants to deal with your anxiety in more of an in-depth way. So maybe you want to get connected with the counseling center and see some of the groups or services they offer. So it's important, I think, to maybe start thinking about some of these things now for yourself. So that way when it does come a point where you are feeling a little bit anxious, you do want to connect with somebody. You're like, oh, I do need some support with writing my paper, or I do want to talk to someone about my anxiety. To kind of know that and have it already set up. So maybe you want to look up, well, how can you be a part of these things? Maybe look up some contact information, just have it at hand so that it's easy accessible and that you can use it when you need it at the right moment. But thinking about these questions, thinking about these things beforehand might set you up positively for that, again, that success in the future and dealing with that anxiety in a positive way. So just some final thoughts here. So just know that you may still feel nervous and anxious, and that is okay. I'm hoping talking about all that stuff related to anxiety didn't make you more anxious. But if you still feel anxious, nervous, you still don't know what to expect, that's okay. It's something new. Things are going to work out eventually. It may take some time to figure out, well, what's best for me? How am I going to make this work? What is it going to look like? but I'm hoping things will get there for you. And again, that just may take some time. Also note, just taking it day by day can save you some stress. So we talked a little bit about that. Taking it one day at a time, making sure you're taking some time each day, maybe to celebrate a small victory. Small victory meaning something that you've accomplished. Maybe you finished a paper that you've been working on. So take some time to celebrate that, take a break to celebrate that. One day at a time. Also just know that you may make mistakes, but remember that you are not alone. So mistakes are probably going to happen. You're learning, you're trying to figure it out. College is about learning. Just remember that you're probably not the only one going to be making mistakes. There's going to be other people too. It's a new experience for anyone just starting off college. And again, just remember to feel free to get connected to any supports that either Marywood has or any other type of school has wherever you're attending. Get connected with the supports, ask for help. A lot of people in different offices that are there to support understand this is a new experience. It's nerve-wracking. It can be very anxious, and that's okay, but people are willing to help. So definitely reach out. And finally, just know that there may not be a secret sauce on how to start college, but just do what is best for your success. So I can't say I coined do what is best for your success. I got that from somewhere else. Someone else told me that one. But ultimately, it really is up to you because there is no clear-cut structure on this is how you do college. There's all the tips and things that we talked about and other things that you can do to kind of make it easier for yourself, but it's not one size fits all. So if that makes things a little bit more nerve-wracking, that's okay. It might require some experimentation on your part just to try things out. Try using a planner or your phone to schedule things, try something new. Really just try to figure out what works best for you. You can listen to some suggestions from other people. But I think what's really going to be key is, again, just figuring out, well, does this work for me? Is this what's best for me? Can this set me up to be successful? This really set me up to deal with my anxiety in a positive way so that I feel less anxious. So all those tips and things that we kind of talked about beforehand might be a good thing for you to try or maybe implement into your routine. Maybe you're the type of person that wants to start taking more breaks. Maybe you're the type of person that does maybe want to start doing some exercise to see if that helps, kind of going for a walk, whatever that may be. But just giving some of those things a try. Hopefully that doesn't sound like it requires some type of work, but it requires for you to try some different things, trying those things out. All right, and there's the contact information for Marywood Student Success Office. There's the email. If you have any questions and need to reach out to Marywood in that way, you can use that email, and we'd be happy to help. But it looks like we have about 10 minutes or so before we do need to wrap up. So this time is for any questions. So if you have any type of questions at all, related to the presentation or any type of other questions that you feel like you just really need to ask, this will be a good time. So you can use the chat box feature, which should be, if you don't know where it is, right at the bottom of your Zoom. It should just say chat. You can click on that and type in there if you have any type of questions. So I don't see too many things coming in, but I'll just give it a minute or so if anybody has anything they have questions about. Now would be the best time to ask. Okay. Thank you, Brandis. I appreciate that. Thank you, Christina. All right, looks like I'm getting some feedback. I appreciate all the feedback from everyone that's throwing it into the chat box. Doesn't look like we have too many questions. Oh, you're welcome, Sam. Thanks for saying thank you. But again, if you have any other questions pending in the next couple of days, or even later tonight, I mean, feel free to use that email. If you're attending Marywood, or even if you just have any questions in general, even if you're not attending Marywood, about the presentation with some of the things that we talked about today. But yeah, thank you so much for all the positive feedback. So we can wrap things up here if there's no other questions. So thank you all so much. Have an excellent day and take care.